Why bother playing competitive Magic if the prize support is just booty? The new promos for the upcoming RCQ season as well as Eternal Weekend have been announced, and a lot of people have thoughts in terms of value and playability. And in this video, I wanted to go over just that situation. Should promos in Magic the Gathering be playable? Should they be high value, or should they be both? Because it's very easy to do that as well. I remember seeing the announcement yesterday and saw this tweet this morning and didn't even think that people would be this upset with it, because there is a lot of value to be had in the two upcoming promos. So as I mentioned, the standard RCQ upcoming, we have two promos for that. And specifically for Eternal Weekend, we have some really sweet ones as well when it comes to kind of legacy and vintage on both sides. Notably, we have the Tendrils of Agony here specifically for the Legacy Championship of 2025, and the Vintage Championship provides us with Trinisphere specifically for Shops players, Tendrils for the Storm players in Legacy. But more specifically, it's the value of these cards. How good are they, right? We're not asking for reserve list promos, but we are asking for cards that are chase cards. Especially when it comes to standard, it seems that Wizards of the Coast has some real like flip-flop ways of handling all of this. Sometimes the promos are actually decent, and sometimes they're just really bad, and rarely they're actually a banger. So from this tweet itself, we see the standard RCQ promo of Laughing Jasper Flint. Honestly, a pretty sweet card that steals your opponents. When it comes to a commander card, this card is really good. It's a great staple in the average Obeka deck as well. And honestly, the card doesn't really scream much past that. The art's nice. Got a shout out to that. I love the Western theme. Maybe a lot of people have opinions about another Magic card with another cowboy hat, but really it's not about the card's ability. It's about the card's value. And Nikachu kind of points it out right here. Wizards has returned to giving out useless promos to the competitive players, and useless in terms of both value and in playability in standard. Again, this is a standard RCQ promo, but we are bringing in, you know, mediocre commander cards. That's what it is, right? You can play Laughing Jasper Flint as your commander or in your 99. It's still a mediocre card. It doesn't break the game fundamentally, right? Even the cards that you exile with its ability, you still have to cast those spells with mana. You don't even get to cast them for free. Again, the card is kind of mid, but it does what it does pretty solidly. So if we take a look at this, again, announcing upcoming RCQ, Spotlight events, Eternal Weekend, and more. I'm gonna link this article down below if you wanna go through it all, but really what I'm looking at is the two promos. So Shoot the Sheriff, honestly, really sweet art, and Laughing Jasper Flint as well. What I like about the promo as well, specifically for Shoot the Sheriff, is it actually gives you some amount of like reminder text as well, which is pretty nice. But generally, are these cards that like you've recently seen in standard? Maybe Shoot the Sheriff, but let's kind of delve into that a little bit, and then we're gonna go over the Eternal Weekend stuff kind of down the line. So commonly played creatures in standard. Let's control F this. So you can see I've already done this. So let's go with Jasper. No, so out of the top 50 creatures in standard right now, Laughing Jasper Flint is nowhere among them. If it's not in the top 50 creatures, it's not in the top 50 cards, because the top 50 cards is a mixture of creatures, lands, and spells. It's just not in here. So why are we bringing this into a standard RCQ? Heck, if we do this down the line for modern RCQs and stuff, are we making sure those cards are playable as well? Sometimes we are, so we'll get into that in a second here. Now, let's go into the other one. So commonly played spells, we're gonna look up Get Lost. So Get Lost is the 6th most played spell, which is kind of nice. It's number 6. It does see a fair amount of play. 37% of decks, almost 40% of decks are playing this, somewhere in the range of 2 to 4, likely in some capacity. So that is kind of nice. At least you get a spell that does see playability, and honestly, a relatively like interesting removal spell. Destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. No artifact or enchantment involved there. Its controller creates a map token. Now it's 2 mana, it's instant speed. The difference between 1 and 2 is miles, but like, it's not like we needed this card at 1. I don't think we need to power creep Fatal Push for white decks, so let's not do any of that. But regardless, we did kind of hit one, but not the other. Regardless, though, when it comes to value, because we are talking about cards that do see play as well as continues to have value, because we can do that at the same time. There's a lot of standard decks out there that have a lot of value in them in their individual cards. So for example, Robert here, Fire Tree says, pick some good RCQ promos. Nobody is going out of their way to attend an RCQ for top 8 bulk rare. Incentivize people to play your damn events. It's not that hard. And they're not wrong. This is like $1 card. This is less than $1 card on average. Like, I got a copy of Laughing Jasper Splint behind me. I keep calling it Splint. It's Flint. In my commander deck, again, it is a budget option. This is a budget commander. It's $1.50. Why is this a standard RCQ promo that nearly sees no play from that point forward? I mean, Get Lost is something. It's like roughly a $4 to $5 card, right? And it's seen peaks, it's gone up and down. It was $10 at a point. So you know what? Okay, maybe, like, okay, you know, and based on when they design these promos, it's not like they can predict Monstrous Rage and all that stuff. And there's a whole conversation about how Monstrous Rage was probably made at a time when like they didn't think standard would be like 3 years and everything. They changed that. Like, so there's all these discussions about that. When it comes to Get Lost, sure, I just don't buy it. I feel like the pipeline to make a promo is a lot quicker than the pipeline to design full sets. So I feel like they really could have pivoted this into something and picked almost any high value card. As you can see, you know, we're just going to do this myself. So standard meta, I didn't even add this. Y'all can see the amount of tabs that I still have to go through. But let's go through maybe like Azorius Omniscience, right? Let's go through Omniscience, right? This is a deck that recently has been doing really well, and Domain, I could even go into Domain, but those are like a little bit more contentious. So Omniscience, you know, we have Omniscience in Foundations, right? We know that this card is going to be legal for the next like 5 to 10 years in Standard, right? That's the whole goal of Foundations. Now, when it comes to Omniscience, why don't we pick Omniscience as our promo? Because not only is our goal to have it see play in Standard because we included it as a rare in a Foundation set, a mythic in a Foundation set, but it also sees play in other formats. And so a promo of this would be very high chase. A lot of people would be attending events to get this, and also a lot of people would be selling this across the market. There'd be a lot of movement of a promo of Omniscience in a standard played deck. And even if it wasn't playable now, your goal is to make it playable, right? You put it in a standard set called MTG Foundations, the foundations of your front-facing competitive environment. Why wouldn't you want this to be playable? So I don't see that as an excuse. I just don't understand why we're picking this. I feel like we need actual, like, we need real people on these panels or something. We could have made, not the lands, I guess they're a little contentious because this is a cycle. We could have made Cavern Souls a promo. You know, Overlord of the Mistmoors. I guess, like, again, like some of these Overlords, maybe you can't predict as well that they are going to be like played. You don't know how Domain's going to play out. But even Voice of Victory, you print something like your opponents can't cast spells on your turn. If you print something like that on a card, you know it's going to see play. If not in Standard, in every other format out there. People already talking about this and playing this in CDH. It has play in Modern Boros Energy, let alone other formats are gonna try and play this, right? It's a card that has a powerful effect. Commander players are gonna chase as well. There are so many better options for a promo that, again, has value, sees play, because the Venn diagram has crossover. The Venn diagram has a lot of crossover. Okay, when it comes to value and play, there's a lot of crossover. And so we can do a better job of picking promos that actually pull people into games. Why would I go to a Standard event to go play for a $1.50 promo? Andrea says as well in the response, if you saw it down below, but no way. Why does every game have insane promos and Magic keeps on printing promos that are worth less than the paper on it? Yo, facts. Opponent down here talking about, not opponent, player down here talking about, remember Urza Saga as a store championship? Because I do. We're going to talk both about how other card games have better promos and about the Urza Saga one in a second. Firstly, I want to talk about Eternal Weekend. So Eternal Weekend announced it returns in 2025 in a big way. We have 3 different regions here. So this year, and some of Magic's most powerful formats where players get to show off their skills. The top 32 finishers of the Legacy Championship at each Eternal Weekend will receive a non-foil retro frame Tendrils of Agony. So retro frame And notably, it has the text on it saying Eternal Weekend Legacy Championship 2025. So you get that exclusivity. This is the only way to get this Eternal Weekend Tendrils promo. The top 8 get the foil version of it. Now that's sweet. It's got the promo logo on it. Again, it says Eternal Weekend 2025, and you get that same treatment for Trinisphere. So this one is going to be specifically for a Vintage Championship 2025. Same situation. Top 32s get the non-foil, and then top 8s get the traditional foil promo. Now, a lot of conversations, just like that initial kind of post, is where does the value of these cards come from? Now, I'm going to take this specifically from a legacy lens. I delve and watch a little bit of Vintage rarely, so I'm not going to speak on it too much. I just know that when it comes to Vintage Storm, yes, Tendrils is going to be there, and yes, we do have prison decks, shops, and stuff that's going to play Trinisphere. Sure, there's going to be decks there, but specifically from a legacy player's perspective, if you're looking at both these cards, there's still value to be had, albeit limited. Now, if you take a look at something like Tendrils of Agony, it's going to see play notably in the kind of storm decks, but the kind of the decks that we're looking at right now with something like the Trinisphere, somewhere in the range of 3 to 4 copies. If you're playing Trinisphere in legacy Eternal formats in general, you are playing somewhere in the range of 3 to 4 in constructed. Commander Eternal format, you'll play 1, but there are situations in the modern format where you play 1 copy. Regardless, Trinisphere is a played card. There is value to it. Trinisphere itself is a rather expensive card, and so when it comes to multiple copies of this as a foil promo, it's going to be a nice piece of bling to add to your Eternal Weekend deck. That's pretty nice. I will say that there is value and playability being crossed over here. Now, the problem comes when it comes to not only, I should actually point out, I forgot that I included this, but Red Stompy also plays it as a Prison mid-range combo. But when it comes to the Epic Storm, Tendrils of Agony has been an Eternal Storm win condition for as far as the eye can see, right? Like, it has been that win condition for so long. Definitely one in the main, if not one in the sideboard to tutor out with something like Burning Wish, right? So you may choose a sorcery card. Tendrils of Agony is a sorcery card. So again, being able to tutor that out as an option, the Epic Storm has that ability for them. Now, this is more so like a mono black kind of Necro deck. I'm not sure if this is exactly Storm, but it probably is, and my lack of knowledge in that archetype is kind of showing here. But the card is like bulk. Tendrils of Agony is like a 50-cent card if we see this. Why not pick something like, I'm not asking to pick LED or Chromox or something, but why don't we pick, I don't know, something like Cabal Ritual? Why don't we pick, Dark Ritual? I mean, we have plenty of Dark Ritual promos, so maybe not. Why don't we pick Ad Nauseam? Again, a card that sees limited play in Modern, but does see play in Legacy, Vintage, in CDH, in EDH as well, in bracket 4 and everything. Why don't we pick cards like that? Beseech the Mirror, very common when it was printed, staple in the Storm decks. Why don't we pick, almost any other card that sees active play in these decks? Why don't we pick those? Again, highlighting, this is played. The Tendrils of Agony sees play. So it doesn't need to be a playset. It is a staple card. You do not play Storm without Tendrils of Agony. But you also can include the Venn diagram crossover of value. These two look at me. Someone's gonna clip this out of context and they're gonna see me doing this in front of my mouth. There you go. I gave y'all a free clip. Anyway, the Venn diagram crosses over. So what are we really doing here when it comes to picking these promos? Both in the RCQ season for Standard, as well as the Eternal Weekend winners for all 3 Eternal Weekends. Who's deciding this? Because as we are picking for the Eternal Weekend, we are picking staple cards, and we kind of successfully did so with Trinisphere. I will note that Trinisphere is a success in my opinion, but what are we doing with Tendrils of Agony? Again, a deck that if we go back here, the Epic Storm is not top 15 decks in terms of representation, in terms of playability. Brian Cook of the Epic Storm might not be happy to hear that, but my man's a format expert. He knows where the Epic Storm lies right now. It's not in the top 15 decks in terms of meta playability and viability right now. So what are we really doing when it comes to this archetype? I mean, if we were to move through the question of value is really important. Is it important to print promos that should have value? The reason I say yes to that question is because that playability, a lot of the time, I would say the majority of time, if it comes to cross format playability or cross archetype playability, the cards that are very playable are also the cards that have a lot of value. They're the cards that are the slam dunk, the win conditions, the cards that are hard to answer. And so a lot of times it does cross over. So if you do one, generally you do the other. Sometimes you miss. And I feel like when you miss, you make that active choice to miss. And it's not to say like, okay, the Tendrils of Agony promo, it'll be worth some amount of money. It's not going to be 50 cents. It is going to be worth some amount of money. The exclusivity of it all, yes, 100%. The problem is that's not what it is now. We can't really predict the price of it right now, but we can ask for better promos. So we had the Urza Saga Store Champ promo, the ones where Urza Saga, you had to stamp the store, stamp the winner of the store and everything. This is almost a $500 card, $600 card in terms of Canadian dollars. This probably like translates to what, $2 US or whatever. Regardless, we had the full art promos. And even without the stamp, it's still a $500, $600 promo when it comes to it's like, first of all, playability. We recently had the Urza Saga change as well. Promos like this are sought after. Urza Saga is a commonly played Magic card across multiple formats. Multiple. And if you're playing Urza Saga, you're playing a play set. It's not one like Tendrils of Agony. It's not 2 to 3 like sometimes you see with Trinisphere. Urza Saga is a multi-format playset all-star. Modern, legacy, vintage, commander. It's all there. Any single format with Urza Saga legal in it, you probably have a viable, really good strategy with Urza Saga in it. Right? That's just a fact. Whether it be combo decks in legacy like with Painter, or artifact strategies like in modern, or even artifact control prison decks that you see in all of those formats, Urza Saga is there. And this was a slam dunk promo, in my opinion. And the beauty of it was that it's textless. It was like they knew the joke. This was what Wizards of the Coast needed to replicate. Not that they needed to replicate the full art aspect of it. That was actually the humor in it. The fact that it's so much damn text and they made it like textless, 10 out of 10. I love it. Why can't we go back to this? Not everything needs to be a chase rare, but everything should have value. There should be something that everyone is competing for and bringing people into the door. And what it does is it helps support your LGSs as well. Ultimately, the value of these cards are for the player, and when the players come into stores to compete, those stores reap the rewards because they are packed. They can barely find any more seats. They might be collaborating with other stores to do certain events and everything to get people in. Long story short, it just helps the overall ecosystem of Magic the Gathering with better promos. It gets people in, it gets people spending money, it gets people moving cards here and there, it gets excitement going on different formats. A lot more people making content, discussing archetypes, discussing formats, because they have an active investment in finding high value cards through these tournaments, and they have an active kind of incentive to do better to earn these cards. And again, the ecosystem just spins. Let's take an example from the One Piece TCG. And this is one that I personally play myself on the side. I have a second channel where I throw up some games every so often. But what happens with this is when it comes to the 2025-2026 online regional season, we have a couple of things that I really want to point out. And it's not just about the structure, right? And how they like organize it and all that stuff. But regardless, it comes to the winning prizes of all this. So for example, let's look at two. So let's look at OP09 Nami. So set 9, card number 50 Nami. Okay. And then we'll also be looking at the serial ace card, as well as highlighting some other stuff. So for example, if we take a look down, if we go all the way down here, first of all, you get promo sleeves. I hope you understand that. There are exclusive sleeves that you can only get from winning and placing top at one of these events. That is the only way you can get these sleeves. If that doesn't shout exclusive, come on. Shuffling up and flexing these sleeves on someone, come on. And then you have the OP09 Nami. This card may not be the most played card in like one of the top decks, but it is one of the playset cards in a archetype that honestly you will see at top. You will see at top events. It may not be topping, but you will see this as a quote unquote meta deck, if not low meta deck. the self-milled deck of Nami. This Nami is a playset card. It is a key card. The deck does not work well without this card. If we go to TCG Player, this card is not available at almost $500. $500. That's its low point right now. It came out at $667, almost $700. Now, where do we win this? If we go back, this Nami, if you get top 64 at online regionals, at a regionals event, top 64 gives you one copy of this, $500 in your pocket, right there, $500. You sell the card. That's why there's no pricing here. There's no cash incentive here. Get the card, sell it. Sell the card. Nami players will buy this, 100%. A Nami blinger will love this. And what's beautiful about this is like some of the stamping on it, right? Like sometimes it'll say winner, it'll say top or whatever. Like if we kind of go back here, like it'll say championship right here. If you're looking at right here, it doesn't show it on like the TCG Player listing, but it'll say championship. So you know that this was won by someone. Like if it's printed later down the line, you know that that's not one. This was specifically like a store championship or like regional promo. It's the exclusivity of it. And the value of it is then reflected. Let's take a look at a card like the Serial Ace. So again, if you go up here, if you go back up, if you are top eight, you get a serial card. So a 1 out of X card, 1 out of 1,000 Serial Ace. Now this may not be the most playable card out there. It does see niche play. The top of the meta does not necessarily have this played, but meta decks, whether it be low meta, mid meta, whatever, do play these, does play this card. There are yellow decks that do play this card. And so when it comes to a serial card, this card is $5,000. If you top eight, you get a $5,000 card. What? Magic tournaments come nowhere near this. Imagine winning one of these. Imagine what you get for winning one of these, the exclusive playmat, the exclusive card, you win some exclusive sleeves. Imagine the value that you're getting. People on their Twitter bios on the OPTCG like Twitter, they flex with the amount of serials. They'll be like, yo, top 64, top 8, winner of 5 serials. That's a flex. That's a flex. Because not only is that cash, but that means you're winning. You're winning. Top 8 consistent. And some of these serials are available only to first place winners. Some serials in past events and stuff are only available to first place. So when it comes to winning prizing, I think Wizards of the Coast has a lot to learn. And I think it's like how they develop things, like specifically this is like by Bandai and stuff. Like when it comes to like exclusive sleeves, Wizards of the Coast kind of partners with other organizations to provide these. They don't want to be necessarily in the business of like making sleeves and stuff, but Wizards of the Coast does make direct cards. Secret Layers, that's a direct to consumer way to provide quote unquote reprints or different versions of different cards. Wizards of the Coast doesn't need to go to the printing, pressing through distributors and everything. Wizards of the Coast sells cards to you directly. You don't need to go to the LGS. You can buy Secret Layers. Yes, that's being a little disingenuous because you don't get all cards, but Wizards of the Coast does sell you cards directly. Why can't they do this? Why does the exclusivity of certain serials and stuff need to be in packs? Just in packs. Why couldn't we get winner cards like this that have this specific event tagged onto them? 2025 RCQ season, modern, whatever. Serialize the card. Make it a fetch land. You ain't banning fetch lands on a modern. Give me. Oh my God. Just think about this. Think about this. Folks, just think about this. Polluted Delta. Serialized Polluted Delta RCQ promo. Folks, that's the new reserve list right there. I gave you a way to monetize the reserve list. I'm just saying, don't take it from me. Don't take it from me. Serialized 1 of 1,000 Polluted Deltas. Insane amount of money. Ridiculous amount of money. Get a big artist on there. Ridiculous amount of money. Actually, like mind-boggling amount of money. Thousands, if not tens of thousands for that card. That'd be insane. The value on that Magic card would be incomprehensible. It would just be what someone's willing to pay for it. If you made it 1 out of 500, 1 out of 100, incomprehensible amount of money. And Wizards of the Coast cannot do price support and just hand out these cards. What would be the issue? What would be the issue? It's just no cost. Stores get people in, people paying. They just make on that economy. What's the problem here? We are investing in the ecosystem of how different card games are already doing so. So why can't we do better? Why can't we do like them? Yes, Bandai and the One Piece CCG have plenty of problems. That's not what the topic of this video is. The topic is taking what's right, taking what they're doing well, in my opinion, and grabbing it for Magic the Gathering. So ultimately, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Where do you think that Wizards of the Coast should land on promos? Should they be playable? Should they be high value? Or should they be both at the same time? I think the answer is pretty clear. What would your choice be? Actually, I think the better choice is, what would your choice be for promos? Would you keep these promos for Eternal Weekend and Standard? If you wouldn't, what would be your quote unquote reasonable, in your opinion, replacement promos for the winners of Eternal Weekend Legacy, Eternal Weekend Vintage, and the RCQ promos for the Standard season? What would be your way to get people into stores? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. It's been today's rant about the latest thing Magic has done, a little bit weird in my opinion, but hopefully, I don't know, with competitive Magic having a lot of issues, I think there are a lot of positives about competitive Magic. There are a lot of avenues to access and everything. There's a lot of ways to play Magic right now. There's a lot of positives to it. It's just, if we can tweak the small things, I think we can reach all like near perfection.